Desperate arrival. The Siberian night was pierced by a blazing streak of light, a cosmic intruder hurtling towards the snow-covered landscape. In the small village of Yasny, nestled in the heart of the Taiga, Nikolai Volkov jolted awake, his weathered face illuminated by an otherworldly glow through frosted windows. "Baji Moa," he whispered, fumbling for his glasses. The old hunter had seen many strange things in his life, but nothing like this. The ground shook as the object impacted just beyond the tree line, sending a plume of steam and debris skyward. Dogs began to bark, and lights flickered on in the handful of log cabins that made up Yasny. Nikolai threw on his heavy coat and grabbed his rifle, more out of habit than any real sense of threat. As he stepped outside, the biting cold hit him like a slap, but he barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on the faint orange glow emanating from the forest. "Nikolai," called out his neighbor, Anatoly, trudging through the snow. "What was that?" "A meteor." "Net," Nikolai replied, shaking his head. "Too slow for a meteor." "And did you hear?" There was a sound, like singing. Before Anatoly could respond, a high-pitched wail echoed through the trees, causing both men to flinch. It wasn't the cry of any animal they knew. "We should call the authorities," Anatoly said, his voice quavering. Nikolai snorted. "By the time they get here, whatever made that sound could be dead. Come on." Ignoring his neighbor's protests, Nikolai set off towards the crash site, his footsteps crunching in the fresh snow. As they neared the impact zone, the air grew warmer, and a strange, acrid scent filled their nostrils. They emerged into a clearing that hadn't existed hours before. Trees lay splintered and uprooted, and at the center of the destruction sat an object that defied comprehension. It was roughly oval-shaped, about the size of a small bus, with a surface that seemed to shimmer and shift colors in the moonlight. It's a ship?" Anatoly breathed, his eyes wide with disbelief. Before Nikolai could reply, a section of the craft's hull suddenly liquefied, forming a doorway. Both men raised their rifles instinctively as a figure emerged, stumbling into the snow. It was unmistakably alien. Standing about 5 feet tall, its body was slender and graceful, covered in iridescent scales that reminded Nikolai of the northern lights. Its head was elongated, with large, almond-shaped eyes that reflected the starlight. But what struck Nikolai most was the expression on its face, one of pain, fear, and desperate hope. The alien took a shaky step forward, reaching out with a 6-fingered hand. "Help," it said in perfect Russian, though its mouth didn't move. "Please, help us." Then it collapsed, its scaled body steaming where it touched the snow. For a moment, neither man moved. Then Nikolai's decades of hunting instinct kicked in. "Anatoly, run back to the village. Get blankets, medical supplies, and as many strong arms as you can find. Go." As Anatoly sprinted away, Nikolai cautiously approached the fallen alien. Up close, he could see that its scales were cracked and bleeding a silvery fluid. Burns and cuts marred its delicate frame. Whatever this creature was, it was badly hurt. Swallowing his fear, Nikolai gently lifted the alien. It was surprisingly light, and he could feel its rapid, shallow breathing. "Hold on," he murmured. "Help is coming." More movement from the ship caught his eye. 2 more aliens emerged, supporting each other. One was clutching a device to its chest, which pulsed with soft blue light. "There are more injured inside." One of them communicated directly into Nikolai's mind. The sensation was strange, but not unpleasant. We didn't know where else to go." Nikolai nodded grimly. "You're safe now. We'll help you." Over the next hour, the quiet Siberian night transformed into a flurry of activity. Villagers arrived, initially wary but quickly overcoming their fear when they saw the aliens' plight. They formed a human chain, carefully extracting the wounded extraterrestrials from the wreckage and wrapping them in blankets. Marina, the village doctor, worked tirelessly, applying her skills to anatomies she'd never imagined. Their biology is incredible, she muttered as she tended to a particularly bad burn. They're healing even as I work. By dawn, 12 aliens had been rescued and taken to the village community center, converted into a makeshift hospital. The one with the glowing device, who seemed to be their leader, finally regained enough strength to communicate. We are the Zoraxians, she explained to the gathered villagers. We come seeking refuge. Our world, our people, they are gone. A ripple of sympathy passed through the crowd. If there was one thing the people of Yasni understood, it was loss. You are welcome here, Nikolai said firmly, surprising himself with his own conviction. But their problems were far from over. As the sun climbed higher, the distant thrum of helicopter rotors reached their ears. The outside world had noticed their unexpected visitors. Military vehicles rumbled into Yasni by midday. Stern-faced officers in crisp uniforms strode into the community center, only to stop short at the sight of the aliens peacefully resting under the care of the villagers. This is now a matter of national security. A colonel barked, recovering his composure. Everyone clear out. We're taking control of the situation. Nikolai stepped forward, planting himself between the soldiers and the aliens. Other villagers quickly joined him, forming the human barrier. With all due respect, Colonel, Nikolai said, his voice low but firm, these beings came to us for help. We've given our word to protect them. They stay here, under our care, until we know they'll be safe. The colonel's face reddened. You don't understand the implications of. He was cut off by a commotion outside. More vehicles were arriving, but these bore the insignias of a dozen different nations. The crash had drawn global attention faster than anyone had anticipated. As arguments broke out among the new arrivals, the Zoraxian leader approached Nikolai. Its large eyes blinked slowly, radiating a sense of calm that seemed to spread through the room. You have shown us great kindness, the alien communicated, but we fear we have brought danger to your doorstep. Perhaps it would be best if we... Nikolai interrupted, surprising himself again. You came here for a reason. Something out there frightens you more than crash landing on a strange world. Whatever it is, whatever's coming, we'll face it together. The Zoraxian was silent for a moment, then nodded. Very well. Then it is time your people knew the full truth of why we are here, and what follows in our wake. As if on cue, every electronic device in the village, phones, tablets, the old television in the corner of the community center, crackled to life. On their screens appeared a scene of unimaginable destruction. A beautiful blue-green world, not unlike Earth, being systematically torn apart by a fleet of ominous, blade-shaped ships. This was our home, the Zoraxian's voice echoed in everyone's minds. And those who destroyed it now hunt us across the stars. We came to Earth because legends speak of your kind. A young race, yes, but one with a strength that belies your years. The alien's gaze swept across the room, taking in the shocked faces of humans from the village and beyond. We stand at a crossroads, people of Earth. The galaxy believes us weak, believes you primitive, but together we may prove to be something this universe has never seen before. The question is, are you ready? In the stunned silence that followed, Nikolai found himself locking eyes with the colonel who had been so imperious moments before. The man's expression had changed, a mix of fear and determination that Nikolai felt mirrored on his own face. Whatever was coming, Earth would never be the same. But as Nikolai looked around at his neighbors, at the soldiers and diplomats now crowding the room, and at the grateful Zoraxians they'd pulled from the wreckage, he felt a spark of hope. We're ready, he said, speaking for all of humanity in that moment. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Uneasy integration. 3 months after the Zoraxians' arrival in Siberia, Dr. Ilara Chen stood before the United Nations General Assembly, her heart racing. The young xenolinguist had been catapulted from obscure academia to the world stage, tasked with bridging the gap between humanity and their alien refugees. Distinguished delegates, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I stand before you today to report on the progress of the Xeraxian Integration Initiative." As she spoke, holographic images flickered to life around her, showcasing Xeraxians working alongside humans in various settings: laboratories, classrooms, even construction sites. Their empathic abilities have revolutionized our approach to mental health treatment. Ilara continued, "Xeraxian healers have shown remarkable success in treating PTSD, depression, and even some neurodegenerative diseases." Murmurs of approval rippled through the assembly, but Ilara knew she couldn't shy away from the challenges. "However," she said, her tone growing somber, "we face significant obstacles. Anti-alien sentiment is on the rise in many nations. There have been protests, and in some cases, violence against Xeraxian communities." The holographic display shifted, showing images of angry crowds holding signs with slogans like "Earth for Humans" and "They'll read your mind." In the back of the chamber, Nikolay Volkov shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The Siberian hunter had become an unlikely diplomat, invited to represent the village that had first welcomed the Xeraxians. The scenes of protests felt like a personal affront to him. As Ilara concluded her speech, calls for questions came from the floor. The delegate from Brazil stood up, his face etched with concern. "Dr. Chen, there are rumors that prolonged exposure to Xeraxian empathic fields can alter human brain chemistry. Is there any truth to this?" Ilara hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "We've observed some neurological changes in humans who work closely with Xeraxians, but these appear to be benign, even beneficial. Increased empathy, improved emotional regulation, or the first stage of a subtle invasion of our minds," interrupted the U.S. delegate, his voice sharp. Before Ilara could respond, a commotion erupted at the chamber's entrance. A group of protesters had somehow breached security, unfurling banners and chanting, "Protect humanity. Reject alien influence." As UN security rushed to contain the situation, Nikolai locked eyes with Kira, the Xeraxian representative seated in the observer section. Her large, iridescent eyes reflected a mix of sorrow and resignation that made his chest tighten. Later that evening, in a secure facility beneath New York City, Ilara pored over data with her research team. The room hummed with the energy of dozens of screens displaying complex neural scans and chemical analyses. "Look at this," said Dr. Amit Patel, enhancing an image of a human brain. "The growth in the empathy centers is undeniable, but is it truly harmful?" Ilara shook her head, frustration evident in her voice. "It's not harmful, but try explaining that to a scared public. They see change, and they assume the worst." A soft chime interrupted their discussion. On the main screen, a message flashed. "Urgent. Security breach at Xeraxian compound in Denver." Ilara's blood ran cold. "Get me a direct line to Denver, now." Within moments, a live feed appeared. The scene was chaos. Smoke billowed from a building, emergency vehicles crowded the streets, and in the center of it all, a group of humans and Xeraxians huddled together, surrounded by armed guards. "What happened?" Ilara demanded. "A human supremacist group," replied a harried-looking security officer. "They claimed they were liberating humans from alien control. But when they broke in, they found this." The camera panned to show the huddled group more clearly. Ilara gasped. The humans, adults and children alike, were positioned protectively around the Xeraxians, some even using their bodies as shields. "They tried to hurt our friends," a young girl said defiantly to the camera. "We won't let them." As Ilara watched the scene unfold, a realization struck her. "Amit," she said slowly, "I think we've been approaching this all wrong. The neurological changes, the increased empathy, what if that's not a side effect of Xeraxian presence, but the very reason they came to us?" Amit's eyes widened as he grasped her meaning. "You think they chose Earth because we have the capacity for this kind of connection?" "Exactly," Ilara nodded. "But to fully understand, we need to dig deeper into their history, their biology. There's something they haven't told us yet. Halfway across the world, in a hidden laboratory beneath the Gobi Desert, a very different conversation was taking place. The specimen is remarkable, Dr. Zhao Wei said, his eyes gleaming with a fervor that bordered on madness. Its cellular regeneration capabilities are like nothing we've ever seen. His colleague, Dr. Isabella Reyes, looked uneasily at the unconscious Xeraxian floating in a stasis tank. Wei, this is wrong. They came to us for help, not to be dissected. Don't be naive, Isabella, Zhao snapped. Do you think other nations aren't doing the same? The potential here is staggering. Imagine, human beings freed from aging, from disease. We could be gods. Isabella shook her head. At what cost? We're betraying everything. An alarm blared, cutting her off. Red lights flashed as a computerized voice announced, "Warning. Specimen showing signs of consciousness. Empathic dampeners failing." The Xeraxian's eyes snapped open, fixing Zhao and Isabella with a gaze that seemed to penetrate their very souls. Both scientists clutched their heads, overwhelmed by a flood of alien emotions and memories. Through the haze of shared consciousness, Isabella saw flashes of a civilization far older than humanity's, of a terrible choice made millennia ago, and of a looming threat that chilled her to her core. As suddenly as it began, the connection broke. The Xeraxian slumped in the tank, its energy spent. Isabella found herself on her knees, tears streaming down her face. "My God, Wei," she whispered, "we have to tell someone. The world needs to know." But Zhao was already at the communications panel, his fingers flying over the keys. "Initiating Protocol Omega," he said, his voice cold. "Full quarantine of the facility. No one comes in or out until we've unlocked the secrets in that tank." Isabella stared at her colleague in horror, realizing that in their quest for knowledge, they had stumbled upon something that could reshape humanity's destiny, for better or for worse. As night fell over the UN headquarters in New York, Nikolai Volkov stood on a balcony, gazing at the city lights. Kira, the Xeraxian representative, joined him silently. "Your world is beautiful," she communicated, her thoughts tinged with a mix of wonder and sadness. "So full of life, of potential. We hope we haven't doomed you by coming here." Nikolai turned to her, his weathered face set with determination. "My people have faced invasions before. We've faced winter, famine, and war. Whatever's coming, we'll face it too." Kira's large eyes blinked slowly. "There is much we haven't told you, Nikolai. Truths that may shake the foundations of your society." "Then tell me," Nikolai said simply. "Whatever it is, we'll find a way forward. Together." As Kira began to share the true history of her people, neither of them noticed the small drone hovering in the shadows, its camera fixed upon them, broadcasting to unseen watchers who had plans of their own for humanity's future. Hidden strengths. The holographic display in the Oval Office flickered ominously as it replayed the message for the third time. President Adama Okoro leaned forward, her face a mask of grim determination. "You have harbored fugitives of the Galactic Concord," the alien voice boomed, its multi-toned resonance sending chills down the spines of everyone present. "Surrender the Xeraxian refugees within 30 Earth rotations, or face the consequences of your defiance." As the message faded, an uneasy silence fell over the room. General Zhang, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was the first to speak. "Madam President, our deep space monitoring stations have detected a large fleet approaching the outer reaches of our solar system. Their technology, it's like nothing we've ever seen." President Okoro nodded slowly, her mind racing. "And the Xeraxians, what do they say about this galactic concord?" Dr. Ilara Chen stepped forward, her usual confidence tempered by the gravity of the situation. "They're terrified, Madam President. The little they've shared suggests the Concord is a coalition of the galaxy's most powerful species. But there's something else, something they're holding back." The President's eyes narrowed. "We're facing an existential threat, Doctor. We need the whole truth now. As if on cue, a soft chime announced an incoming transmission. The holographic display shifted, revealing the serene face of Kira, the Zyraxian representative. Esteemed leaders of Earth, Kira's thoughts resonated in their minds. We owe you the full truth of our history and the latent power that sleeps within us and within you. Deep beneath the Gobi Desert, alarms blared through the secret laboratory. Dr. Isabella Reyes raced down a corridor, her heart pounding. Behind her, she could hear the shouts of security personnel and the unsettling hum of energy weapons. She skidded to a halt before a massive vault door, her trembling fingers flying over the keypad. As the door hissed open, she darted inside, sealing it behind her. In the center of the room, suspended in a glowing stasis field, floated the Zyraxian they had code-named Prometheus. Its large eyes flickered open, fixing Isabella with a gaze that seemed to peer into her very soul. "I'm sorry," she gasped, reaching for the stasis controls. "What we did, it was wrong. But now, we need your help." As the stasis field powered down, Isabella felt a familiar pressure building in her mind. This time, she didn't resist. "You've glimpsed the truth," Prometheus's thoughts echoed in her consciousness. "Now let me show you the whole of it." Isabella's world exploded into a kaleidoscope of alien memories and sensations. She saw a civilization at the height of its power, masters of both technology and the mind. She felt the horror of a war that scorched the stars and the desperate choice that followed. "We locked away our greatest strength," Prometheus explained, "to save ourselves from our own destruction. We became the Zyraxians you know, peaceful, empathic, but stripped of our full potential." As the connection faded, Isabella found herself on her knees, tears streaming down her face. The vault door reverberated with the impact of weapons fire. Prometheus placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "The key to unlocking our power lies dormant in our genes," the Zyraxian spoke aloud for the first time. "And in awakening ours, we can awaken humanity's." Isabella finished, her eyes wide with realization. In New York, Nikolai Volkov stood on the roof of the UN building, watching as people flooded the streets below. News of the alien ultimatum had leaked, and the world teetered on the brink of panic. "It's happening again," he muttered, memories of old wars and evacuations flickering through his mind. "Not quite," came a voice behind him. He turned to see Dr. Ilara Chen, looking exhausted but determined. "Nikolai, we need your help. The Zyraxians have revealed something incredible." As Ilara explained the true nature of the Zyraxians and their suppressed abilities, Nikolai's expression shifted from disbelief to wonder. "But why me?" he asked. "I'm just a hunter from Siberia." Ilara's eyes gleamed. "Because you were the first to welcome them without fear. Your connection to the Zyraxians is stronger than almost anyone's on Earth. If this is going to work, we need minds like yours to help bridge the gap." Before Nikolai could respond, both their communicators buzzed urgently. On the screen, a breaking news alert flashed. "Rogue UE faction, Atenum pizzas Zyraxin kidnapping. Chaos in major cities." Across the globe, a coordinated series of attacks unfolded. In Tokyo, a group of masked assailants stormed a Zyraxian cultural center. In Rio de Janeiro, a medical research facility working with Zyraxian healers erupted in flames. And in London, a high-speed chase tore through the streets as a van carrying abducted Zyraxians tried to escape the authorities. Behind these attacks lurked a shadow organization known as Homo Supremus. Their manifesto, broadcast on hijacked channels, was chilling. "The Zyraxians are not refugees, but harbingers of humanity's extinction. Their empathic abilities are a Trojan horse designed to soften us for invasion. We will extract the truth, by any means necessary, to save our species." As the world descended into chaos, President Okoro stood before a bank of cameras, her voice steady despite the maelstrom. "My fellow citizens of Earth, we stand at a crossroads of history. Yes, there is a threat approaching from the stars. But the greater threat comes from fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of change. Fear of our own potential. She gestured to her side, where Kira and a group of Xeraxian elders had assembled. Our guests have offered us a gift, born from their own tragic history. A key to unlocking abilities within ourselves that we've only dreamed of. The choice to accept this gift must be made freely by each individual. But know this, I will be the first to step forward. As the president extended her hand to the Xeraxian elders, a ripple of gasps echoed through the gathered crowd. For a moment, Okoro's form seemed to shimmer, an aura of latent energy dancing around her. In a hidden bunker, deep beneath the Antarctic ice, the leaders of Homo Supremus watched the broadcast with growing alarm. "It's worse than we thought," growled a silver-haired woman, her eyes blazing with fanatic intensity. "They've already begun the process of transforming humanity." A younger man, his face scarred from some past conflict, leaned forward. "Then we stick to the contingency plan. If we can't save all of humanity, we'll save what we can. Initiate Project Arc." As klaxons began to blare and hidden machinery rumbled to life, a third figure stepped from the shadows. Towering and inhuman, its form rippled with a technology far beyond Earth's understanding. "You have done well, my puppets," it purred in a voice that bypassed the ears and slithered directly into the mind. "The Xeraxians think they can unlock humanity's potential. Let them. For in doing so, they will ripen this world for our true masters." As the first waves of the Galactic Concord's fleet entered the solar system, humanity stood unaware that the real threat had been walking among them all along. The stage was set for a battle that would determine not just the fate of Earth, but the future of consciousness itself in the galaxy. Mines and missiles. The sky above New York City erupted in a dazzling display of light and energy as the first wave of the Galactic Concord's fleet breached Earth's atmosphere. Sleek, predatory ships of impossible geometries descended, their weapon systems thrumming with barely contained power. In Central Park, now converted into a makeshift command center, Dr. Ilara Chen stood alongside Nikolai Volkov and a group of Xeraxian elders. Their eyes were closed, faces etched with concentration, as they formed the nucleus of Earth's most unconventional defense system. "Psionic shield at 60% capacity," Ilara announced, her voice strained. "We need more power." Nikolai grunted, beads of sweat forming on his brow. "Easy for you to say, Dr. Rita. Some of us are new to this whole mind over matter business." Around the globe, similar scenes played out. Humans and Xeraxians joined in a telepathic network, their awakened abilities forming an invisible barrier around the planet. It was an unprecedented merger of consciousness and will, the likes of which the galaxy had never seen. As the Concorde ships opened fire, their energy weapons splashed harmlessly against the psionic shield. For a moment, hope surged through the defenders. But then, multiple breaches detected, came a frantic report. "They're adapting their weapons faster than we can reinforce." President Okoro's voice crackled over the command channel. "This is what we prepared for, people. Initiate Phase 2. And may whatever gods are out there watch over us all." High above the Earth, cloaked in experimental stealth technology, the ISS Humanity's Hope detached from its docking station. Captain Zara Okafor took a deep breath, surveying her crew. A hand-picked team of Earth's finest, their minds and bodies enhanced by the Xeraxian awakening process. "All hands, battle stations," she commanded. "Psionic engines to full power. Let's show these aliens what happens when you back humanity into a corner." The ship vibrated as it engaged its revolutionary drive, a fusion of human ingenuity and Xeraxian psychic technology. In the blink of an eye, they vanished, reappearing amidst the Concorde fleet in a maneuver that defied conventional physics. "Fire at will," Zara shouted. Beams of concentrated thought energy lanced out from the Humanity's Hope, slicing through Concorde ships with devastating precision. But their advantage of surprise was short-lived. The alien fleet quickly regrouped, bringing their superior numbers to bear. As energy blasts rocked the ship, Zara gritted her teeth. Helm, evasive pattern delta. Weapons, target their flagship. If we're going down, we're taking their leader with us. Back on Earth, the situation grew dire. Despite the valiant efforts of the psionic defenders, Concord dropships had broken through, deploying ground forces in major cities across the globe. In the streets of Tokyo, Akira Tanaka, a young office worker who had only awakened his abilities days ago, found himself facing down a squad of hulking alien warriors. Their armor seemed to ripple and shift, adapting to each attack he threw at them. "Remember your training," shouted his Araxian mentor, deflecting an energy blast with a thought. "Don't fight with just your mind. Fight with your spirit, your very essence." Akira closed his eyes, reaching deep within himself. He felt the pulse of the city around him, the hopes and fears of millions. Drawing on that wellspring of human emotion, he unleashed a shockwave of pure psychic energy that sent the alien squad flying. Similar scenes of desperate heroism played out across the planet. In Rio de Janeiro, a group of enhanced humans used telekinesis to redirect a crashing Concorde ship into the ocean. In Cairo, a Xeraxian healer worked tirelessly to revive fallen defenders, pushing the limits of their regenerative abilities. But for every victory, there was a setback. The Concorde's technology was formidable, and they seemed to have countermeasures for every tactic Earth's defenders employed. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, the leaders of Homo Supremus watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of dread and anticipation. "The fools," spat the silver-haired woman. "They think they can match the Concorde with parlor tricks and meditation." The scared man nodded grimly. "It's time. Initiate the Purge Protocol. If humanity is to survive, it must be on our terms, not as puppets of alien influence." As they prepared to unleash their secret weapon, a virus designed to target and neutralize the newly awakened psychic abilities, a chilling laugh echoed through their bunker. The shadowy figure that had manipulated them stepped into view, its form no longer bothering with human pretense. Multi-limbed and insectoid, it towered over the stunned Homo Supremus leaders. "My dear puppets," it chittered, "did you really think we'd allow you to interfere with the harvest?" Before anyone could react, the creature's form seemed to explode, dissolving into a swarm of microscopic machines that engulfed the humans. Their screams were mercifully brief. As the nanite swarm reconstituted into its previous form, the alien invader opened a communications channel. "Phase 1 complete," it reported. "The humans' last-ditch defenses have been neutralized. Begin the final assault." Aboard the ISS Humanity's Hope, now heavily damaged and venting atmosphere, Captain Zara Okafor made a desperate gambit. "All power to the psionic drive," she ordered. "We're going to ram their flagship." As her crew braced for impact, Zara reached out with her mind, connecting with the vast network of psychics on Earth. "We need everything you've got," she projected. "Every ounce of will, every scrap of hope. Channel it all into us." Across the planet, humans and Xeraxians alike focused their thoughts on the lone ship, a David facing an alien Goliath. In New York, Ilara and Nikolai clasped hands, their minds merging in a surge of power. In the ruins of Tokyo, Akira and his fellow defenders sent their remaining strength skyward. The humanity's hope began to glow, encompassed by an aura of pure thought and emotion. As it accelerated towards the Concorde flagship, the fabric of space-time itself seemed to warp around it. In the final moments before impact, Zara had a sudden, startling moment of clarity. The Concorde ships, the energy weapons, even the aliens themselves, they all shared a familiar underlying pattern. A pattern she had glimpsed in the nanite swarms deployed by Homo Supremus. "It's all connected," she whispered, her eyes widening with realization. "The Concorde, the infiltrators, the entire war, it's all been orchestrated by..." Her words were cut short as the humanity's hope collided with the Concorde flagship. The resulting explosion was unlike anything ever witnessed in Earth's skies. For a moment, it seemed as if a new sun had been born. As the light faded, silence fell across the battlefield. The remaining Concord ships hung motionless, as if their strings had been cut. On Earth, the invading ground forces suddenly collapsed, their armor crumbling to reveal nothing inside. In Central Park, Ilara slowly opened her eyes, her mind reeling from the psychic backlash. Did we win? She asked hesitantly. Nikolay helped her to her feet, his weathered face a mix of exhaustion and wonder. I think, Dr. Rita, that we've only begun to fight. Something tells me the real war is just beginning. As dawn broke over a battered but unbroken Earth, humanity stood on the precipice of a new era. They had unlocked powers beyond their wildest dreams, faced an alien armada, and emerged victorious. But as the adrenaline of battle faded, troubling questions emerged. What was the true nature of the enemy they had faced? What role did the mysterious nanite infiltrators play? And most importantly, now that humanity had tasted the power of the cosmos, what would they do with it? The stars, once distant and unreachable, now seemed to beckon. And somewhere out there, the architects of this grand deception waited, ready for the next phase of a game older than Earth itself. Galactic Reckoning. The dust had barely settled on Earth's battlefields when the true scope of humanity's victory began to unfold. Dr. Ilara Chen stood before a wall of holographic displays in the United Nations Command Center, her eyes wide with wonder and trepidation. It's not just our solar system, she breathed, watching as reports flooded in from hastily established psychic relays. The entire galactic concord, it's collapsing. President Okoro, her once immaculate suit now battle-worn, leaned heavily on her desk. Explain, Doctor, what exactly are we looking at? Ilara's fingers danced over the controls, bringing up star charts and real-time footage from distant worlds. When Captain Okafor's ship destroyed the Concorde flagship, it didn't just win us the battle. It shattered some kind of psychic control network. Planets across the galaxy are reporting the same thing. Concorde forces just shut down. Nikolay Volkov, looking decidedly uncomfortable in the high-tech war room, grunted. So, we won. Why do you both look like you've seen a ghost? The president and the scientist exchanged a grim look. Because, Mr. Volkov, Okoro said softly, we're no longer facing an invasion. We're looking at a power vacuum on a galactic scale. And nature abhors a vacuum. Light years away, on a shadowy world untouched by sun or star, a beam of pure energy pulsed with rage. Tendrils of dark matter writhed around its form, as it absorbed the full impact of its defeat. Millennia of planning, it seethed, its thoughts rippling through subspace, a perfect system of control, undone by a species barely out of its cradle. Around it, lesser beings cowered. The true masters behind the galactic concord, now revealed as puppets themselves. The humans and their Zyraxian allies must not be allowed to upset the balance. One dared to speak. Perhaps if we reveal ourselves, offer them a place. The energy being lashed out, reducing the speaker to atoms. No, it boomed. Humanity has proven itself too unpredictable, too dangerous. We cannot control them. Therefore, they must be eradicated. Initiate the Omega Protocol. Across the galaxy, ancient machines stirred to life, ready to unleash a force that would reset the cosmic board entirely. Back on Earth, in a secret facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, a lone figure stirred in a stasis pod. As systems came online, Dr. Isabella Reyes gasped awake, her mind reeling with the memories of her escape with Prometheus, the Zyraxian she had helped liberate. Easy, Doctor, came a familiar multi-tone voice. You're safe now. As her vision cleared, Isabella saw Prometheus standing beside her pod, along with a group of humans, and Zyraxians she didn't recognize. How long was I out? She managed, her throat dry. Long enough, Prometheus replied, helping her to her feet. The war is over, Doctor. But a new crisis is just beginning. We need your knowledge, and quickly. As Isabella was briefed on the current situation, Her scientific mind raced. The nanites, she muttered, pulling up holographic data from her time in the Gobi facility. They're the key to all of this. Not just a weapon, but a tool of cosmic restructuring. One of the Xeraxian elders stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with recognition. You've touched upon an ancient truth, Dr. Reyes. Our ancestors spoke of a force that shaped the very fabric of reality. The celestial architects. But that's just a myth. Another Xeraxian protested. Prometheus shook his head. Every myth has its roots in truth, and if the architects are real, and they've deemed humanity a threat. Isabella finished the thought, her voice barely a whisper. Then we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for the right of every species to choose its own destiny. As Earth's finest minds raced to unravel the cosmic mystery, the planet itself underwent a transformation. The awakening of humanity's latent abilities, combined with Xeraxian knowledge, sparked a renaissance of culture, technology, and spiritual growth. In the streets of New Delhi, children played with globes of water suspended by thought alone, learning the delicate art of molecular manipulation. In the Australian outback, indigenous elders worked with Xeraxian healers, merging ancient earthly wisdom with alien insight to rejuvenate damaged ecosystems. And in laboratories and meditation chambers across the globe, humans pushed the boundaries of their newfound potential. Some learned to peer across vast distances of space-time, while others delved into the quantum realm, dancing with the very building blocks of reality. But with great power came great responsibility and great temptation. In Geneva, the newly formed Galactic Council of Earth convened its first emergency session. Representatives from every nation stood alongside Xeraxian elders, their minds linked in a complex psychic network that allowed instantaneous communication and unprecedented empathy. Yet even here, in this bastion of unity, tension simmered. We cannot wait for the architects to make their move, argued General Zhang, his thoughts tinged with militant resolve. We must use our new powers to strike first, to secure humanity's place in the cosmos, and become the very monsters we fought against, countered a Xeraxian ambassador. Our strength lies in our compassion, in our diversity. We must reach out to other worlds, form alliances. The debate was cut short by a psychic shockwave that rippled through the assembly. Every mind present was suddenly gripped by a vision, a cascade of falling dominoes on a cosmic scale, each one a star going dark. As the council members reeled, a new consciousness touched their minds, ancient, vast, and utterly alien. Children of Earth, it resonated, you stand upon the precipice of oblivion. Your choice awaits. The entire planet held its breath as the celestial architect revealed itself. In orbit above Earth, the hastily reassembled and retrofitted ISS Humanity's Hope kept vigil. On its bridge, Captain Zara Okafor stared at the swirling vortex of energy that had appeared at the edge of the solar system. All hands, battle stations, she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of trillions of lives hanging in the balance. No matter what comes through that portal, we hold the line. For Earth, for the Xeraxians, for every race that's ever dreamed of freedom. As the ship's psionic engines hummed to life, Zara felt a familiar presence touch her mind. Across the vast distances of space, Dr. Ilara Chen reached out. Captain, Ilara's thoughts rang clear. We've made contact with the architects. They've issued a challenge, a test to determine whether our species, our alliance, is worthy of existence. Zara's grip tightened on her command chair. A test. What kind of cosmic exam determines the fate of galaxies? Not an exam, Captain, came the reply, tinged with a mix of fear and exhilaration. A choice. We must decide the future of consciousness itself in this universe, and we only have moments to decide. As the energy vortex flared, disgorging shapes that defied comprehension, Zara Okafor and her crew found themselves on the front lines of a battle, not just for survival, but for the very nature of reality. On Earth, in New York's Central Park, ground zero for humanity's first contact with the Xeraxians, Nikolai Volkov stood hand in hand with Kira, the Xeraxian who had become so much more than an alien ambassador. Around them, humans and Xeraxians alike joined minds and hearts, creating a psychic gestal that stretched across the planet and beyond. Through their combined consciousness, the architect's choice became clear. Accept a place in the cosmic order, safe but constrained, never to truly fulfill their potential, or risk everything on a new path, one that could lead to transcendence or utter annihilation. As the fate of not just two species, but countless civilizations hung in the balance, Nikolai squeezed Kira's hand. His gruff voice, thick with emotion, spoke for billions. We choose freedom. We choose growth. We choose the unknown. A pulse of pure thought, more powerful than any weapon, radiated from Earth. It carried within it the hopes, fears, dreams, and above all, the unwavering determination of humanity and their Xeraxian allies. The celestial architects, for the first time in eons, knew surprise. And as that pulse of defiance and hope raced across the cosmos, awakening slumbering potentials and shattering ancient constraints, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. A new age was dawning, an age of uncertainty, of danger, but also of unlimited possibility. Humanity, once rejected and dismissed as weak, had not only found its strength but had chosen to share it with the galaxy. The stars, no longer distant and cold, beckoned with the promise of adventures yet to come.